Good evening, everyone. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. If you haven't been here before, thank you so much for being here and joining me in my channel and the small community in which I have. Even though, the multitude of subs did not always mean that all those people are on at once or even that they even enjoy chatting, because I do have a lot of individuals that have told me that they're subbed up, but they don't chat. So, so it's a conundrum, to say the least. I've been down with this illness, whatever it is. I don't know if you guys have had it yet, but it starts off with your throat feeling really prickly and the headaches behind your head, in the back of your head, and just drainage of mucus beyond belief. And then you start coughing relentlessly, and then for me, the wheezing started, and I still have a little bit of the wheezing going on, and I've been, rehabbing as quickly as possible so I can get back to work tomorrow. Um, I didn't even have this light of voice yesterday, if you want to believe that. Um, like I said, been popping a lot of vitamins, been doing the um the breathing machine and things like that, and those things have helped a lot. So, if you do catch this for whatever reason, I hope that you do what you need to do at a very early stage, because it will help you get through it. Because otherwise, I've heard people lasting with this from 3 to 8 weeks, and it's not a good thing to have. So let's get on with the show. The title is The Addict or the Lack of Willpower. Let's talk about it. I am an addiction counselor, therapist, whatever you want to call it. That is one of the hats that I wear at my job. I've been doing that for about 23 years, almost 24. And, you know, hello, Walt. Thank you for being here. Addiction has no real boundaries whatsoever. It really doesn't. And you can be addicted to just about anything. That's what the horrible part of it is. You know, um, I've talked to people in my line of work that are addicted to just anything that they're unable to put away. The simplest form or the definition of addiction is, if you've ever tried something and you enjoy it and it starts to cause problems in your life and you've tried to stop it and were unable to do it, then you might have an addiction. That is the most simple definition of addiction. You know, it goes into dependency. There's a very fine line between addiction and dependency, or abuse and dependency, because you can abuse something and still be functionable. That's the part about life that many people just really fail to understand, is you can be a functionable alcoholic, how they're functional meth addicts. There really is. There's people that go to work every day high on meth just to get them through the job, and they are not the strung out drug addicts shooting dope in the back of the alley by the dumpster. It's not that type of addict. They're doing it to either to escape or to enhance their productivity, whichever they choose to do. And you know eventually it all comes crashing down, though. And I say we because I am a recovering addict myself. I say we because, eventually you don't see the wreck coming. You don't see your downfall coming until you crash and burn. And by that point, you're still telling people, "Hey, I'm okay. Everything's all right. There's nothing wrong." That's with drugs and alcohol, and the same concept does occur with other things such as food, such as pornography, such as gambling. That's why I have to watch what I do because, if I start loving something or even enjoying it fairly well, man, I'm on it. I'm on it. And I ride that horse as fast as that horse will go sometimes until I crash and burn. And that's probably one of the reasons that I got sick is because, I've been dashing for cash and that's a very addictive thing. Money is an addictive thing, and I forgot to mention that, but money is addictive as well. And when you're chasing money as fast as it'll come, sometimes you put your focus on that, and it's human nature to leave other things out of your focus, whether it be your health, whether it be eating, whether it be hydrating, whether it be doing any of these things. So you have to be very mindful of what am I trying to say? Would it be balance that I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that you need a very balanced lifestyle. You need to have the yin for the yang. And when that occurs, you have the ability to go full throttle, but you also have something that pulls you back. And when you don't pull yourself back, a lot of times, people can tell you, hey, you're going too fast, you're going too hard. And you just say, well, no, I need this. I need to get this. I need to just a little bit more and I'll be all right. But a lot of times we can't regulate our little bit more. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been there. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced what I'm talking about. I know in our country we have an obesity epidemic. We really do. We've covered it up by the labels that we put out. And I have nothing against anybody that feels great about themselves or loves themselves at the size that they're at. Nothing at all. But in the long term, you have to wonder how well your health will hold up because we're not meant to be carrying around a large amount of weight. And for some of us, food has become a way of coping. I know it was for me. For a long time, comfort eating was a thing. I gave up drugs, I gave up alcohol, and Blue Bell became my addiction. If you don't know what Blue Bell is, if you're not from Texas, Blue Bell is made in Texas, and it's a very awesomely created ice cream company. And Blue Bell comes in half a gallons, and whenever you're drinking, you're ingesting a whole bunch of sugar along with the wheat and the barley and all that stuff, right? So, let me tell you, if you're used to having that lifestyle where you start drinking at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and your body gets accustomed to that influx of all that sugar, well, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen whenever you stop feeding your body all that sugar? Your body has been accustomed to all that to all that, right? So you start craving it. Your body gonna start craving it. It's gonna start sending a signal telling you, "Hey, I need my sugar fix." So that's why a lot of times whenever you stop eating sweets or you stop drinking or you stop, doing those things that are maladaptive to your functioning, your body still reaches out for them because it changes the composition, not only in your physical structure, not your chemical structure. I meant to say chemical, not physical, but your chemical structure but your mental structure as well, where you start craving that Bluebell ice cream. Oh, Bluebell's made in Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. I thought it was a Texas thing. My bad. I've been lied to all these years. I did not know that. Thank you very much for you guys that are in the chatting. You know, also when you get to that point and you want to give up, let's say you want to give up, let's say your finances are out of out of whack. You're spending more than you're making, and people are telling you you have a problem. You might need help. You might need help regulating. You keep lying. You keep telling them, "Hey, I don't have a problem." You're going down with the ship. So what happens? Some people have to hit their bottom, their proverbial bottom, before they stop or understand that, hey, I'm at my darkest point of life. I need to either change this or it's going to take me out. Have any of you in chat ever been there? Have any of you ever been with somebody who was a habitual spender, somebody that was not good with money, always on the hunt for money but never had money, you know? Or maybe it was the eating thing. Maybe the eating thing got out of control. A lot of therapists call that comfort eating. I don't know if y'all have heard of that or not, but it's not scientific, but it's just a name that people have given it, is comfort eating. You know, something happens, you turn to food to escape from the reality of the pain. So um think about that a little bit. You have a bad day at work, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go get me some cookies. I'm gonna go get me a burger and fries and a shake and whatever. I don't know if y'all watch TikTok, but there's a genre out there called mutt gang. And it's where these individuals literally all they do is eat in front of the camera. They sit there and they eat in front of the camera. And people watch it. People watch it. You know, they literally watch them kill themselves on camera, eating themselves to death. Hell, there's been TV shows that are created called My 600-Pound Life. Have y'all seen that? You know, um, eating addiction is a thing and it will kill you, because I don't know if it's a form of OnlyFans or not, but it's called Mutt Gang. And it is on TikTok. And if you have a TikTok account, you just go type in MUKGA or MUCK something, GANG, and all these people will pop up as they're eating their lives away, and people will tune in to watch that, and they seem to be okay with it. They have no problem, with that. But getting back on course of where it becomes an addiction and how it changes the physiological psyche, where your mind no longer seems to function without it, because that's when it becomes despairingly dangerous. It's when your mind is telling you, I can't do life without this. I cannot go on without this. I need my morning Dr. Pepper. I need my morning coffee. I need my Twinkies. I need how Oreos, you name it, whatever it is, whatever comfort food you might have. You just put a little blank there and you fill it in yourself, because that is basically what it is. So there are Overeaters Anonymous, there's, different variations of meetings that you can go to where other people have the same type of affliction. And like the title says, do you believe it's a lack of willpower or do you believe in the addiction itself? Yeah, exactly, Walt. Exactly. You like cosmic brownies. I've never heard. Huh. Is that the weed brownies? I mean, I don't know. I don't. If that's what it is, I understand. But a lot of times when individuals reach that point of having to put down whatever it is that caused them a deterrent in their life, nobody. Oh, they're little Debbie's. Okay. I thought they were weed brownies. My bad. Um, Little Debbie's a drug pusher company in itself, pushing sugar since 1912. You know what I mean? It's like Little Debbie's are hard to put away too. I mean, I can really vouch for that myself. But like what I was saying is whenever you reach that point when you have to put something down, especially if it's against your will, it's not an easy way up. It's not because you're constantly, like I said, your mind is constantly playing tricks on you. In the middle of the night, you're wanting that sugar rush, whatever it was. You're wanting, um, you're wanting comfort when something bad goes wrong in your life. You know, you want all these things to replace the feeling part of life. So back to the original question. And I'd like for y'all to answer that in the chat since y'all are here. Do you believe that it's a lack of willpower, or do you believe that the addiction is an actual psychological dependency? I know what I believe, but I'm not necessarily going to push my beliefs on anybody if you believe different, because I know there's people that don't believe in a lot of different in a lot of different forms of sobriety or the meetings or stuff like that. But that's the topic of the hour is it the lack of willpower or is it an actual addiction that is killing people on the streets? Because let's look at it this way. If it was lack of willpower, let's say the first time somebody OD'd, or the first time somebody went into let's say you become a diabetic and you start getting whatever it's called, neuropathy, all that stuff. Most people, if it was willpower, they would be like, okay, I've reached that point. I can't go any further. I need to change something. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here much longer. If it was willpower, I believe that at that point, the drug addict would say, hey, I just OD'd. I've reached the point of no return. I've got to do something. And some do. Some do try to get sober, but they do it because it's a knee jerk reaction most of the time. What do y'all think? Do you think it's a lack of willpower, or do you think it is an actual psychological affliction? Tell me what you think in the chat. Your thoughts are respected and they're valuable. So feel free to talk as you will. I'm going to continue on. So let's take the big one. I'm going to put the big one up there. Pornography, sexual addiction. I'm going to put that one up there because if you notice the things that I'm talking about, there are companies that supply and demand these things to the American public and people around the world. So think about pornography. Pornography is a almost $1 billion business. But in it, people get trapped into pornography, they get trapped into the illusions, and it does change their psychological functioning as well because, like I just said, with the food, your brain is hijacked in the pleasure center area, which is the limbic system. It is hijacked and it gives you pleasure. So every time that you visualize or you view some pornography, the dopamine release is substantial. You reach that pleasure and bam. So every time an individual is going through something that is not pleasurable and they visualize what they saw last, because we're in a very sexualized world, everything revolves around sexual imagery. You can't look at any of this social media without anything being sexualized. I mean, from gym workouts to swimming gears to even the Olympic Games. I mean, you just look everywhere, and we live in a very sexualized world. So think about having an issue with addiction to porn. And I'm not going to get all graphic, but you understand the outcome of somebody having that addiction. It's either sexual addiction, sexual and love addiction, or it's actual self gratification. So I'm not going to get very, um, you know what I mean. I'm not going to get too graphic, but when it comes to that addiction, it's very hard to break because not only do you take it from the visualization of the screen, you take it into your real world relationships. And that's why a lot of them, they either don't work very well or they're constantly being compared to the visual stimuli, or the individual is hiding the pornography addiction while their partner is feeling cheated on. So, it's very tragic. It's very tragic. And then there's the sexual and love addiction. That is when you have individuals that do not understand the difference between love and lust. They visualize love in a sexualized fashion. If you're being used as a sexual object or you're being treated as such, to them, that is love. And there's a lot of individuals that have that misguided path. So when you're talking about that, it's hard for them to get into a normalized relationship because if all you've ever known is lust, how are you going to get to that point of actually being vulnerable and being intimate, not only with your body, but with your mind, the emotional attachment? So, a lot of times, this is a struggle for people. Another thing, there's all these variations where people struggle in life and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. You know, they want to talk about things that they can't change, things they can't change. And what are those things? Most of the time, it's everybody else in the outside world. The things we can change, that is ourselves. You know? So, whenever we're looking into these addictions, we're also looking into a pattern of living that we must go back and either repair or even get to the point of reference where we understand, hey, we've caused a lot of pain in a lot of people's lives, including myself. And that's why whenever you reach that proverbial bottom, you start to be able to get some kind of reflection that tells you, hey, I messed up. I messed up pretty bad, but I can fix this and I will fix this. And once you get on that path, it's a hard path. But the beautiful thing is most people with the addiction, with the dependency and the abuse, they have the willpower to overcome. They just don't have the willpower to sustain a long time unless they have support. Because I'm going to say because they they have relapses, emotional, physical, or how even relationship issues can cause a relapse. You know, I know people that safeguard their computers so that they don't have the ability to look at certain sites. I know people that don't have smartphones. They have those flip phones where they don't tempt themselves. I know people that have accountability partners where they call them up, where they're able to call up somebody all day long in case they're in a bad situation. And that's for any of the addictions that I've mentioned today. You know, it's interesting when recovery happens that people get on board. They get on board with the thought of, I found another lease at a new life. Because isn't that what we all strive for? Just another clean slate to finally get it right? Because how many of us have wanted to get this right for a very long time? Not just our lives, but anything that's keeping us from going forward. Tell me, if you could get a clean slate, no more bills tomorrow, would that cut down your comfort eating? Would that cut down your stress? If you could get a clean slate tomorrow at a new job with a higher pay, would that cut down your porn addiction? Would that cut down any other addiction you might have, gambling? You could get a clean slate at your relationship issue going better. Would that keep you home and out of the bars and out of drinking and drugging and hanging out with Lord knows who? I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would. But we never get that opportunity to have that clean slate until we ourselves clean up some of the messes that we created in life. And in recovery, that is, if you're using the steps, that is step 4, where we have the opportunity to clean up our lives, you know, where we have that opportunity to do something different. So you say lack of willpower. Well, how? If it was willpower, as much energy as I put into everything that I found pleasurable and distractive, I would have been able to quit right away. Because I knew the very first time that I took a drink that's I was finally home. I finally shed the shy, quiet, timid individual and became the person who I wanted to be all along. And I set out on a mission to reinvent myself through drugs, alcohol, and promiscuous behavior. And I know I'm not the only one. Hell, there's a room full of people just like me. That's why I'm not ashamed to talk about it. But if you are ready to get to that point in life where you actually are okay with what you've done and are ready to clean up what you've done, then there are places for you. But you can't do it alone. And there's going to be tough days. But on those tough days, you have to remember, hey, it's either this or just lose everything I built so far. And at this point, that's how easy it is to talk myself out of any kind of self-sabotage. Look, you built too much to throw it all away. You built too much to throw the grenades at behind you and watch the world burn. You built too much, bro. Hang on, tie a knot in the rope, and hang on for dear life if it's that bad. I like that, Walt. I can understand. You know, many times people act like if they have a problem, then the world's gonna shame them to death, and they're never gonna get to that point if they're actually honest. Honesty is a big part of it. You have to be honest with what you see and willing to be honest to where you want to go. And that is a very good thought. Never give up hope. You're right. You have to be honest. So you know what? I was a piece of shit. I was a thief. I was a liar. I was a manipulator. I was everything in between. But I decided to walk away from that and become something different. Even if I didn't believe in it, even if I didn't want to be a part of it, even if I didn't understand it, even if I hated it on most days, it was better than any worst day that I had in that other life. And I can tell you that, I can tell you that sitting here behind this microphone, that there were days when, you know, you just want to say, fuck it, and go back and just do everything and anything because you're hurting so badly and you don't know how to walk away from the pain without escaping like you're used to. So if you're listening tonight or you're watching on replay, which most of my views get watched on replay, thank you so much, replay crew. Do you understand that if you know someone who is addicted to drugs or alcohol or any of the other stuff that I've talked about tonight, but there's a way out. But one thing you cannot do, if you are the family member, shaming and tough love will never get the addict through the door. I don't know how many people I've seen that literally shamed their people so much and due to tough love that by the time the individual makes it through the door, they are so beaten down. There's so little hope and trust in them that they don't know where to go. Would you do that to a cancer patient? Someone with cancer, would you shame them about their cancer? If you found out your loved one had heart disease, would you shame them because they had an addiction or affliction, that there was something wrong with them? I hope not. But you know what? I view this as a disease. I don't view it as lack of willpower because, like I said, I'm a recovering addict, and there was never any point in my life, as well as the teaching that I've done, or the learning that I've done under some highly professional people that have done extensive work in the field. You know, willpower will get you drunk. Willpower will get you high. Willpower will tear up that food pantry. Willpower will take you into the Jack Shack and keep you there for days. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to that point. But like I've said before, you can come home. You can come home again. And by that, I mean you can get to a point. Yes. Yes, I was. That's easy to get into. It kind of goes hand in hand with all those other ones. You know, when you're having relationship issues and you need something to comfort you through the lonely times until you find something else. Yeah. But what I can tell you is you have to be honest with where you're at in life. If you can never get honest, then people telling you where you're at in life is never gonna make any kind of resonation in your mind because there's a lot of individuals that we watch on these YouTube streets. And I'm not talking about in the true crime community only, but there's a lot of other genres where you can tell the people are just flat out lying and they're okay with that. But you got to ask yourself if they're that comfortable in lying to people, are they really trustworthy? That's what I ask. If somebody can sit there and lie to me for 2, 3 hours, would that be somebody that I'd want to trust? Would I trust them with my money? Would I trust them with my child? Would I trust them with my friendship, my loyalty? I don't think I would. I don't think I would. But thank you so much for being here tonight. I thought I'd get on and do a quick live. It was the topic of the hour, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, my name is 12 Gauge, and this is 12 Gauge Investigative. And we've been talking about the addict or the lack of willpower. You let me know. Maestro, cue that music.